Hello, everyone. I'm Nidhi, and today's podcast is all about short stories and their bigger impact. The connection between short stories and their massive, massive tales that they tell. And joining us today is the great Humra Quraishi, the writer of What the Hell and Other Stories, Kashmir, the Untold Story, and so many more amazing works. Thank you, Humra, for joining us.
Happy to be here and looking forward to our talk, discussion, whatever you may call
We're
it.
so grateful that you could make time for us, and we would love to have a discussion about how you brought region, culture, and all unity in your latest book, What the Hell and Other Stories. So, if you would like to, introduce it or whatever you short words that you'd like to say about it.
Writing is a process. I mean, obviously one has to start one day, but
Yes.
the more you travel and travel on foot, that is, I think, the crux. And the more you meet ordinary people, not the who's who, no. It's a uncomplicated, ordinary person who's there on the road.
Mm.
It, and you're there to listen, actually, not to give your own thing. Um, and it just starts then. It's a process. It's a long process and a tough one. Most people think, okay, writing is what, just sitting and writing. No, it involves a lot of emotions. It saps, it's painful. But if it's there in your system, it gets into your system, there's no end to it. It gives you a reason to live on, let's put it that
Wow. Okay. So, but in your work, you have very diverse characters from
way.
displaced international
Mhm.
to, all the children and everybody.
Mhm.
But all of them have some sort of similar um, experience that they can,
Mhm.
connect with. There's a relevance to it. So, and they're so intricately talked about that
Mhm.
you feel as if it's coming from either you've seen it from your eyes or you felt it in a way. So,
Mhm.
is it autobiographical in some sense?
Oh, see, again, let me say, because I've been writing for years.
Yes.
So, in the beginning, I didn't really realize, but a lot of you comes in your writings.
Yes.
Whoever is a writer. Suppose I was sitting in Ukraine just now and I
Yes.
was writing short stories or long stories, the war would be there. There it would be there, come what may. So there's nothing called pure fiction. I mean, I mentioned this before also in my other talks or whatever interviews, that there's nothing called pure fiction. Where I'm born, what I go through or what I'm seeing or whom I interact with, definitely creeps in or has to get into my writings. And I'm basically a journalist, so that in a way I think helped, because I went to Kashmir to report in 1990.
Mm.
And of course I was reporting, but a lot of what I was seeing was there in me or in my psyche or in my head, and that did come out in the form of short stories and a novel. And some of those things are there to stay, actually. Most of them, actually, not some, especially the pain I've seen of people, definitely children and women, and even men. Why not?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't believe this men women thing at all. I mean, we're human
That
forms, so
pain is
whatever we
there.
go through, we go
That
through.
pain
Yeah,
is
yeah, I don't
something
just
that
believe in
is
this men
real
women.
for everybody.
Yeah, so it's there, and me there to report. Obviously, I was there on ground, so that's all stayed. And um, uh, is I mean, is still in me. And so whenever I write, it just comes out very, very spontaneously. Obviously, I have to web it into a story and maybe uh, camouflage the characters to a certain point, but not beyond. I can't do that.
Yes, of course. So, but most of the stories are about, like actual pain. Like you can feel it
Mhm,
in your
mhm, mhm.
bones when you
Yeah.
read it. And all of the struggle and you've managed to collect all these stories over many decades. So over the years, so how do you feel about like sharing them right now, and what was the point that said, okay, let me share it right now, this is, I would like to do it now?
Um, you know, um, writing is like become part of my life now. I mean, earlier it was my children, but they married, they moved on. So it's me and my writing. And if you train yourself to write every day, it gives you some sort of emotional, I don't know, anchorage or what word to use. In fact, Gulzar Saab had said once to me during the course of an interview when I had asked him, about the ups and downs in his life and how did he manage to go through. So he said, writing is like riding a tigress. It gives you a lot. Yeah, that's the exact sentence in the course of that interview. It's like writing a tigress that will then help you go through any situation in life. And I have, because I was destined to report from Kashmir,
Yes.
I mean, the editor of newspaper, daily newspaper, sent me there to report. Not that I had even visualized what I'm going to go through. So it's like that time it was like being in a war zone.
Yes.
And I've seen such pain of people that, is even difficult to describe.
Yeah.
People losing their children, dying, killings, and sorry.
No, no, no. Just especially today, like the stories I had when I was reading it, this war
Mhm.
situation or whatever is happening right now in the world was not there. So it was like I could visualize it, I could understand it, I could sympathize most of all, but there wasn't an ingrained fear of, oh, this could happen. But with what's currently happening in the world and the level, the pain that your stories have, it somehow feels like it's there. Now most people can have a direct real connection to it, because
Uh,
everybody thinks, oh, this is happening somewhere else, I am somewhere
yeah.
else. There's always a disconnect, and somehow it keeps them sane as well to some level. But currently with everything that's happening, the stories have a bigger
Mhm.
impact, I believe, or personally.
Earlier, I'm talking 1990s, people thought all this turmoil, conflict, or internal strife is only uh, in the so-called conflict zones, whether it's Kashmir or Northeast. But now, uh, over the last 20 years, say,
Yeah.
or maybe more, these conflict zones are all over.
True.
Any place you go, there is a little the sort of upheaval happening. You can put it in some other way you want to, but Kashmir, when I was sent to report, I didn't visualize that what I'm going to see, and
Yes.
that changed me as a person. I mean, I think it really there was like a U-turn in my life, and I started reporting from the hospitals there and the graveyards, and then you realize, what conflict can do to a human form or to the entire, in fact, the population. So, and they've stayed with me, these realities, because I've kept in touch with. I don't want to put them away because they are there. And
Yes.
I've never seen such human pain. But of course, now I'm seeing it all over.
True.
I mean, you just have to just walk out of your comfort zone. You can't be a writer and a journalist sitting in your comfort zone. That is not possible. You have to get out and see, and then every lane or by lane, actually, even of our big cities, have such painful realities. But you have to get off your so-called comfort zone or that, and you have to just open your eyes and you'll see what's happening around. It's very painful. Yes.
There are struggles like everywhere in every class or whatever division that
Mhm.
this world has created. Anyway, there
Of
are
course.
always struggles, but somehow recently, at least from what, like 5 6 years, everything has
Mhm.
been a bit stable for everybody in terms of struggles. Like everybody's going through the same pandemic, the same problems. Of course, there really bad for some people. Some people have the privilege and access to, ride the tide in a way. But
Mm-hmm.
now that is coming in that this sort of sense, those all post-apocalyptic sort of fiction, this all seems
Mm-hmm.
surreal, and somehow it's happening right now. And all of
Mm-hmm.
these stories, characters that you bring to us, they somehow make it seem like, okay, maybe I could have been there as well. Just a you know difference in fate, maybe, or a mistiming.
Mm-hmm.
Any of us could be there. And it just gives
Yeah.
me chills when I think about it, like goosebumps. And right now, as I was assuming something that's happening all the way to the other world, but of course the ripple
Mm-hmm.
effect comes here as well. And I think that's
Absolutely.
humans, we need to realize that it's not always concentrated in one place. It is going to affect all of us, and we need to somehow do something about it.
There has to be a very, very big effort in trying to end violence, whether it's in a on a small scale or a larger scale. I think that has to be drilled into our heads. That no violence, whether it's war or whatever, and even the small eruptions, and there's so much violence. Or I'm not talking the war, the ongoing war, the Ukraine war. That I'm not. Even in our own country, there's so much violence in us that and that has to be curbed. If you want to actually, especially the new generation, have to be actually alive in the actual sense. So that is not there. I mean, a lot of things are happening which are very, very unsettling. I mean, you just have to be on the road and interact with people. And I mean, they say writers born. I like to go beyond. I
Yes.
mean, if today you want to actually write about the reality, you just start walking around, talking to people, and writing exactly what you've heard and seen. Your book is there, or your short story is there. So
Yes.
it's just that a little thing to get out and see. And I think the first thing is that violence has to be stopped at the state level, or even at the smaller unofficial levels, but because that is killing us actually. You had leaders, we had Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru. I mean, their speeches, everything was so I mean, the calming effect was there, which is missing. I mean, we actually are missing um, erstwhile leaders, because there was some calm and people had faith in
Yes.
whatever they spoke. There was a lot of hope, and today there's a lot of hopelessness.
That is true.
It's a very sad situation, according to me.
Yes.
They say, dark times brings the best of literature. So literature means, like, Manto wrote what? He wrote about the partitioning tales, etc., because he saw. So you just either you absorb all that and keep it with you, with yourself, or you sit and write, and which is again painful. But then a writer's job is to jot down whatever one he or she is seeing, whatever.
They get to share it in a way so other people can also feel it.
Yeah, a writer is meant to write to connect people,
Yes.
to connect you and me with whatever they are seeing or whatever is happening around. So, because then you die, but you at least leave back whatever you've written and whatever you've seen. I mean, there's a lot of hopelessness today. I mean, especially in the young crowd. I mean, young people, because what they're seeing is very, very, or what they're hearing, very unsettling.
That is true.
I'm not talking the privileged 2%.
No,
I'm talking of,
everybody, like the speeches, the policies, whatever writings, anything's that coming out, like it unsettles people, that how could this be
yeah,
present, or what could be the future.
like even our students stranded in Ukraine. I mean, middle class children, what is their future? If they've taken loans, how do they repay those loans? What is happening on the academic front? There are no answers.
True.
So if you forget about this 2% privileged lot, the rest of us, our children, um, I mean, there's a lot of anxiety, apprehension. So and the more I'm meeting people, I do see a lot of anxious parents, anxious children. So obviously that's going to come in my writings. I mean, that's what I feel. I mean, they could be sad stories or whatever, but there's a lot of sorrow around.
Yes. And with sorrow and violence, you have many women characters like in your
uh,
story. And
uh,
being obviously having personal experiences going through friends and families, and especially how the things have, crawling at snail speed, and with Women's Day around the corner and how things are
yeah.
currently. What do you
Mhm.
feel like could be, more like action and intention is much more needed rather than, oh, here's still celebrating you?
No, there's nothing in the celebration thing at all. I mean, it'd be hypocrisy if I say, oh, let me celebrate this day or that day. And like I mentioned earlier, there's nothing called men, women. If I'm writing, I'm writing because it's a human being, that's all. And all these things have become very fashionable, that this day for this day for that. Uh, for me, this is pointless. Let's put it that way. I mean, if I see a smiling child or a smiling family, I feel reassured. Okay, good. But these are rare sights
True.
because, and I'm not into that fashionable thing at all. That it's the day, so I've just raised for slogans. No, I can't do these things. I'm actually finding all this, a little misfit in this whole thing, society. What we are seeing.
So, what exactly do you feel like could be done, like through writing as well? Like being a writer, like you create awareness. That's the main thing.
Yeah, of course.
You share experiences, right?
Uh-huh.
So they somehow bring a change or a light in somebody's life. So you somehow
Uh-huh.
find it interesting, the works that are centered around women with like really women-centric characters in cinema, especially with books. So many women writers coming up with fiction, non-fiction these days, bestsellers. So what do you think, that has it changed over the years? Like when you wrote the story about uh, in chapter 3, I would not like to name things so because I don't want to reveal. But
Which story? Just give
the
me a hint.
walker that used to work at the Koti and with the children, the one who liked the
Achha,
bicycle.
that lady, okay, and how she fainted and then passed away, and how
Yes,
her whole house was just taken away.
yes.
Yeah, but that's actually quite true. I've just, of course, changed a few things, but that's actually quite true. And again, is a little privileged lot of women maybe who benefited. Otherwise, it's difficult for a woman even to walk down. I'm talking of New Delhi
Yeah,
on the road after 8 o'clock.
that is true.
There's no guarantee of any safety or anything happening. So I see a writer's thing is to jot down, or whether it's a short story or novel or what's happening. And one can't give sermons, but one can comment on the system failing. Because if you walk at 8 or after 8 or even 9, whether you are even fully dressed from head to toe, there's no guarantee that you'll reach home safely. So, and I'm not talking of, I mean, if you're even driving, I don't know how far it's safe, but there's something missing or failing in the system. And today, how it's difficult for an average person to even approach uh, uh, what should I say, any any person who can give some assurance, okay, nothing will happen to you, or if something has happened to you, we'll see to it that you get some relief. That is missing. So, and it's not my thing to give sermon, but I do believe in the old quotes or poetry of like Sahil Ludhianvi, this, because he did touch on everything, and from again a very emotional aspect. It's because in the end, one does feel. I'm talking about myself, at least, very. mm, some sort of helplessness or hopelessness. I don't know how to put it. And these stories I've seen with my own eyes, what I've written, these short stories, and they just come out. I mean, it's very spontaneous. It's not that I have to sit one day, okay, let me do story one, two, three, four. No, they're there.
Yeah.
So all these 30 stories, they just came out in some form or the other. I mean, they're just a spontaneous flow of words. Of course, I take some then hours to polish it or to brush it up, etc. That's different, but the thing, the words have just flown out. Let's put it that way.
And like story in your author's note, you have mentioned that writing short stories sort of takes care of your restlessness. Like you, it's sort of a cathartic experience. So, what do you?
Yes, in a way. In a way, yes. Like if I hadn't told them, I hadn't written, I would have felt miserable that okay, this is all there in me, and why can't I write all these things that I've seen? So, but writing, because you go back to that entire setting. Suppose I've written about a child being killed somewhere or
Yeah.
whatever, abused. I have to go back to that setting, recreate the whole thing, and then write. But I would have been, I mean, I felt lighter after writing, but not that is some happy thing to write. Because, again, let me repeat that most people think writing is a very, very easy thing. It's not. It's tough, very tough. Actually, you're lonely because you can't write in a crowd. And if I'm sitting with five people around me, I won't have written. You have to be alone, or lonely, or whatever word to use. And if you're alone, then obviously it drags in a lot of loneliness. Obviously.
Yeah.
So you're lonely, you're struggling to survive, and you want to write everything that's in you or what you've seen. I mean, I've been writing for years. So now it's all now means last few years is all coming out in the form of short stories or this one novel I've done so far, and it does come out. I mean, I can't help it.
Yeah, that makes sense because the experiences you can't just keep them in you. And being a writer, you are sort of attuned to sharing them to the world in a way that sort of makes sense to
Yeah,
them from your point of view.
you I should have written these stories much, much earlier. But when this Khushwan Singh, we did 6 books together, he and I. I mean, he used to speak, I used to put them down, all his stuff. So he told me, he said, why didn't you start writing a novel or short story? Why this reportage? I said, I'll do it. He said, no, there's nothing called tomorrow.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of my friends who had books in them. They used to say, we'll write, we'll write. He said, how are you so sure of tomorrow? There's nothing called tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that actually provoked me, okay, let me start off. So, and I had been, that's my, I mean, again, destiny that with Khushwant and I, we had a very great bonding. I mean, just like a daughter-father. In fact, my son, who's a photographer, Mustafa is my son's name. He used to visit Khushwan. He used to tell me, Mommy, I feel I'm visiting my Nana's home. There was so much of genuine warmth, and he cared. He really cared. So he used to say, no, Humra, there's nothing called tomorrow. You just start off today. So, and I've been, again, that I could, for years we had this rapport. So that's why we could do these. I mean, it was his idea that he speaks, I write, not mine. So we could do these books, and I learned a lot from him. Not again that he gave some sermons, no,
Yeah.
but that value of time. He used to look at the watch, and he said, "No, 5 minutes, have gone, and these 5 minutes are precious." So those sort of things,
Yes.
and the slot only for 1 hour, 7 to 8, to this for the little breather. Otherwise, it was writing, work, work, work. So there was a lot of respect for him. I mean, I had a lot of respect for him because, contrary to that image that he built, he was only a workaholic. And he cared for his family. His wife had Alzheimer's. He looked after her. Of course, they'd arranged a nurse, but he used to sit like just in front of her. I said, why? He said, no, let me keep a watch, whether the nurse is giving her food and water, everything on time. He was there. I mean, like, he used to sit on the sofa chair here, and just across on the other chair, the wife was there. So he cared, and he had this, loyalty and friendship and genuineness. He was, I mean, 100% loyal. And he gave the thing that no, time is running out for all of us, actually. And he said, write what you want to as honestly as possible. Don't care damn, what people say or what people do or what people will do. He said, no. अगर honesty नहीं है तो फिर there's no point writing. That's the thing.
So you've spent so much time with Kushman Singh, and you've
Yeah, I
mentioned
did.
how he literally like actually gave you a push to write and everything. So has writing been like some way influenced, or in a writer's sense, have you brought in something that you learned there to your own work?
No, no. Because I was already a journalist 1990 onwards when I met him. And again, I feel writing is a very personal thing.
Yes.
I mean, we can both go to a situation to report or to write. You'll write your way, whatever. I'll write my way. No, except that what I really owed to him was this value of time. Like it's there now in me. I get up in the middle of the night if I have to finish. There's a deadline. I can't sleep till I have to done that deadline thing. But I don't know about tomorrow.
Yes.
So that time factor and some values, like he used to always tell me, a lot of people waste time fighting and indulging in useless arguments. He said, if somebody's troubled me or hurt me, I just move away. I don't have the patience, nor the time, nor the energy to sit and fight battles or whatever. So I've learned that from him. That's a big thing, that if somebody's upset me or hurt me, I'm not going to sit and argue or just waste time. I just move away into my own little world, whatever, good, bad, so. But I just can't indulge in all that. That and the value of time and respect for somebody who's loyal to you. Like, if my friends have been good to me from 30 years, I'm there for them forever. And I'm not into those rich or who's who people. No, no, that's not me. But if somebody has hurt me or has not been good to me, I just move away. But like, I have some friends who've been there for 20, 30 years. And I do really respect them. So that is there. So some values have to be there as a writer, and you have to be very honest. Otherwise, there's no point. And most writers, I don't know. Today, maybe the thing has changed. There's all this political coloring that's come and all in a lot of reportage, at least, which I think is sad. Because if you have seen a situation, then you have to go by what you've seen or heard or experienced. And it's very important, because what you leave behind has to be 100% honest.
True. So for most of the listeners are, either budding writers or somebody who wants to be a writer. And you've mentioned that, writing is a very personal and a very honest thing that you get to
very personal, yeah.
Your experiences, and you have to, stand by them. So what else would you like to say to them? Like a few words, if you could just give your, let's say, your child some wisdom.
See, when I was going to Kashmir in 1990 to report, because the editor had called up that their local reporter has fled. Yeah. So he gave that impression to me. I mean, he didn't say directly, me being a Muslim would be able to report from Kashmir Valley, which is just not the case. Anybody can be bummed off. Anybody can be killed. So that was anyway, but anyway, that made me land in the valley with a suitcase full of clothes. But I couldn't change for days. I couldn't change. I was seeing so much of death and destruction that I was not in a mood to change, and I didn't want to change, and I couldn't change. So, but then I went ahead, and mostly I walked on foot, and I went even to the interiors. So nobody can touch you if your intentions are clear. And if you're doing your work, not doing some useless politics there, no, anywhere actually. So if you're, what is the word, niyat or intentions are okay, and then I feel you're okay, okay. I mean, you're nobody going to bother you. But if you, and then for the young writers, I feel just go ahead, because you have to be very confident and fearless, because writing is a tough thing. It's a lot of earlier writers who say it's like worship.
Yes.
It's like sitting in a corner and worshipping in a way. So it's a very tough thing, yes. But it can, if you really reach out to people and tell them, oh, this is happening, you've done your bit, and but you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you have.
In a corner, you can't sit and write. No, you can't.
True.
It's impossible actually, and you can write fairy tales. That's different, but today there are no fairy tales. All things are very dark tales. So you have to just get out.
Have never actually been fairy tales. Those are just myths and legends born out of, different,
Yeah,
again,
exactly. Huh?
experiences of people at that time. And we've morphed them into something really happy. So,
Yeah, even now I think a lot of people are spinning fairy tales for those distractions. That's one thing. But the actual thing, if you want to be a hardcore writer, you have to just get out, and every lane. You don't have to even fly here and there.
yes,
Even in your own mohalla, or
this
you
is,
go to the lanes and by lanes, आपको 10 stories मिल ही जाएंगी. And you have to be a little sensitive and to your fellow human being. I mean, that is very important. It could be a man, woman, child, anybody. But your sensitivity has to be there, because, you have to always feel that, I mean, we were taught as children that um, the wheels are churning. Today, I'm here. Tomorrow, I might be just down in the dumps. I might be a refugee. I could be, totally at the mercy of somebody. So those wheels are churning. So nothing is going to remain permanent.
true.
Today we are talking, tomorrow we are not there, we are gone.
Yes,
So all those things are there. Tomorrow, tomorrow, today you're rich, tomorrow you might be just very middle class or nothing to you. It's happening, to people who are displaced or uprooted or whatever. They lose everything within a night,
yeah,
within a few minutes actually, not even a night. So all that has to be told to the children. कि आज आपके पास जो सब है कल नहीं मिलेगा, शायद ना मिले, मिल भी सकता है, शायद ना भी मिले. Those miracle stories or whatever, or disaster stories actually. So all that has to be actually taught in the sense that indirectly or directly by parents, or your thing that just accept whatever is there today, don't know about tomorrow.
that's true. Impermanence is the only permanent thing if we look at it, like from the moment you're born, anyway. So,
In fact, there's this verse of Gulzar Sahab, I've forgotten the exact words, that there's nothing permanent. You can say I'm permanent, but I'm also not there tomorrow.
yeah, true. Yeah, everybody.
And we have to get the poems or the poetry or the verse of the best poets who wrote about these things in those little nutshells. I mean, there was nothing big like Rumi or Baba Bulle Shah, or in today's thing, Gulzar's verse is hitting. You just read it twice and there's something that sinks in. How fragile is a human being.
That is
We might say, oh, this, that. No,
yeah, we
we are
are.
very
Fragile.
fragile.
True.
And the time factor that Khushwant had drilled, that's the fact that Humra don't depend on tomorrow, which is true.
There is no. Yeah.
So that way, I do believe in destiny also, because here I was not bothered till 1990 what's happening. I mean, the very little world, small little world of mine. But just when I reached Kashmir and I saw and met people, I said, oh God, And then otherwise, now it's everywhere. You don't have to even fly anywhere. Just go walk down get out of your home, walk 40 minutes or even 20 minutes, get into some gullies, and you see kya kya ho raha hai. That's the situation.
That is true.
So,
Well, thank you that you actually talked to us in for
No, I'm
tomorrow?
happy we could speak. I mean, I don't know what I've spoken. I've just spoken from my heart, but
No, that was some really
but one should say, I mean, even if there's one happy moment, one should enjoy. But the happy thing is again a very relative thing. You
true.
know, if I don't know how to explain, but if you start being seeing the realities, then maybe you are a changed person. And
That,
then if you write, maybe a lot of people who read, maybe even two people read, you've done your bit. You don't have to actually have those big ambitions. Ki, okay, 40,000 people will read, 1 lakh people will read. No, you've done your thing. As you've written for yourself, and you don't have to get into those mathematics of the whole thing. No, that's at least that's not me.
that's thank you so much. So
Thanks.
I would just would like to ask one question that's like a proper conversation, and this is, how was it
Yeah,
working with Pepperscript? Did you enjoy it?
it was good because see, let me again be very honest. There's a friend of mine. She's a poet writer, Jayashree.
Yes, yes.
She's done a book for you also. I had gone for
Right.
Pepperscript. I had gone for her book launch, and I very very briefly saw Sanchit there, your
Yes.
publishing
And CEO.
person, huh? Chairperson actually, young boy, young. I mean, compared to me, I mean, just like my children. In fact, I just saw him and another colleague of his. I forget his name. Two of them were standing at the door in a very, very earnest, subtle sort of presence. They were not there on the dais, nothing. They looked from a very good family background. You can make out. I can at least make out, somebody's very, the gentleman sort of look, and not trying to be intruding there, but in one corner. So
Yeah.
that really impressed me because I go by that. If I find a person genuine, I can make out. Nobody can actually what should I, fool me that way. I mean, if I find a person earnest, sincere, and well behaved, that's a big thing for me in today's world. So I really like the way they behaved, and I don't even, I know, I think no even hello with them. Later, Jayashree told me my publishers this, and she also, of course, praised them.
Yeah.
So when I was putting together all these short stories, they were some of them were published earlier in different anthologies, etc., and two of my collections also. Then I added some more, etc. So I was looking for a publisher who would publish. This is last year. Would publish them soon, and without me rushing after them, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why not your publisher Sanchit? She said, yeah, they're good people. I said, yeah, I really was impressed. I think we didn't exchange a hello, but the body language and the way they conducted themselves, I was sure they're from a very good background. And for me, that's a very important thing. It's the thing, in fact.
Okay.
So then I got in touch, and it was all done smoothly.
Love it.
So I
Thank
mean, I was happy, and in the sense that the interaction with them was I mean, good, smooth.
you. That's great. Thank you
So
so much.
that's what I'm again saying from my heart. I don't know what I'm
No, thank
speaking,
you for being
but
candid
I
with
felt
us,
good.
because that's what we
Huh?
are talking about.
Because I do believe. I mean, there's nothing called bad or good or something, but somebody, I can if I can relate to somebody who's from a
As if you're
uh, you know
impressed by them, then that's great.
because if somebody's earnest and polite and the gentle sort of thing, that's the ultimate for me. Nothing more is needed. So I was happy, I was comfortable. That's a big word for
Yes.
me, because if I'm comfortable with the person or with the situation, then I'm there. If I'm not, I run away. you know.
Well,
So
we're
that's me.
grateful that you were comfortable. And
So I was comfortable. It's a very big thing for me. I mean, I'm not bothered about anything else. I
well,
mean, I
thank
can
you
go to a
so
very
much.
so-called frilly home and I'm not comfortable. I just run for my life. I can go to a hut or dwelling or one room of somebody who's earnest. I'm there. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing
okay,
all
bye. Bye bye.
and the
Bye.
like how short stories are. Thank you. And everybody can check out What the Hell and Other Stories. for a better understanding and all the emotions that you've managed to collect in such tiny stories. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I definitely.
Yeah, thanks, Nidhi. No, it was good. It was, I don't know the outcome, but I just spoke from, I mean, that's what is me actually. So I was comfortable talking to you. So good.
Thank you so
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye.
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 Bye.